Monday, June 8th, you are watching London's Finest. Will Fowler, Andrew Myers, Jonathan Banks here to break down all of the biggest news, headlines, transfer rumors, breaking news, all of that good stuff is what we usually do. But this is the first day of something that we may be calling Preview Week. With all of these leagues coming back in the next couple of weeks, we're going to knock them all out now, and we're going to start with the one that is resuming the soonest this coming weekend over in Spain. La Liga is coming back. Last weekend was the last time that we ever had to do a weekend preview show focusing on just Bundesliga. Not to knock them, but it's going to be fun to get some diversity in there. We're going to be focusing on La Liga today. The preview show, the same thing that we did for Bundesliga a couple weeks back. 5 categories. We've all got our answers. We've all got our picks. Before we dive in, gentlemen, happy Monday. How are your weekends?
Pretty solid. Another weekend of footy in the books, and now we get another league coming into the picture. So we're getting back to that type of normalcy thing. Outside of football, it's nice and warm every day now, so you get to hang out outside. I'm just in a better mood when the weather's nice like this. It's summertime. If it's kind of like a watered down summertime because of coronavirus, stuff's starting to open back up again. So we're getting back to normalcy here. It's pretty nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Feeling good. Ready to get after again another week of some great shows. But it really lifted my spirits when I saw that Arsenal and Charlton played a closed-door friendly, and the boy Eddie Nketiah unleashed a hat trick, and Joe Willock got in on the scoring. It just really warmed my heart. It was a beautiful thing. But it was pretty funny how you were seeing teams like Chelsea, Manchester United, and Tottenham, when they were scrimmaging each other, they were just wearing the opposite kits. So you see those players defending each other, and it's not like training when they're wearing pennies. Like, they were decked out and everything. So that was funny to see. But, good weekend, hung out with the family, ready to go. We got some La Liga coming up soon.
Yeah, I liked, especially for the Spurs training. They played it like in the stadium, like it wasn't even a hospital away. It was in the stadium. That was cool. Also, do you guys remember on Friday when I made like a slight jab at Spurs and talked about how Norwich is like the Achilles heel? How that's who they went out against FA Cup. That's who they drew unexpectedly a couple of months ago. That's who they scheduled a friendly with on Friday. So we're going to kick off this restart season in just as poor form as we did when everything stopped. So don't talk to me next Friday from like 4 to 6 p.m. Banks, question before we get into this. Was that Arsenal scrimmage against Charlton streamed anywhere? Because that was another question that we had.
It was not. I saw people questioning it. And actually, it was revealed to the public because a Charlton winger commented on Instagram that he was excited to go to the Emirates tomorrow to play. So that's how everyone got onto it. So the highlights of the game were recorded by Arsenal and released on Arsenal Digital Player, which is a paid subscription on their website, I believe. So eventually the highlights leaked out to the regular press, so we all got to see them on Twitter and YouTube and whatnot. But it was very confidential. And I know Arsenal has one more friendly planned, but the opponent is TBD.
Well, there you go. I don't know if Charlton would have been able to release any highlights of that match anyway, just based on the scoreline.
I don't think they want to.
Yeah, true. All right, let's dive into our La Liga preview. If you were with us for a Bundesliga show, you remember this exact template, same deal, same categories, same order. Sorry, Banks. Again, I screwed both of us over by letting Andrew go first every time. But our 5 categories: club to watch, player to watch, top scorer, Champions League, and winner. I think all 5 of these categories, at least the later ones, are going to be a little bit more contested than they were in our Bundesliga show. Our Bundesliga show, we all had Bayern winning. We all pretty much had the same clubs going to the Champions League. We all had Robert Lewandowski as our top scorer. I've seen both their answers. We do have some differentiation here, which is very, very nice. So let's dive right into it. Club to watch. Andrew, you are first on the list, so take it away. Floor is yours.
Yes, sir. So this one, I mean, you just hit the nail on the head there between the difference between this the La Liga and Bundesliga, where there's we have a title race in this one like we did in the Bundesliga, but that one's already over. But this Champions League race is even more surprising than Bundesliga. But my squad to watch, it's a squad that's been on everybody's radar for the past decade now, but they're not having a very good season right now. It's Atletico Madrid. They're currently sitting in 6th place right now, 45 points. There's just a point off of that 4th place Champions League spot. And it's been a weird season for them. 31 goals scored, just 31 goals scored. But they've only allowed 21 goals, the second least amount of goals given up in the league. So their defense has been on par with, the best defenses in the league with their offense. They just haven't been able to score goals. Obviously, the loss of Antoine Griezmann is massive for them. and really unfortunate. But I think this is going to be an interesting last 10 to 12 matches for them because Diego Simeone, under him, I think this is his 9th season. They have not finished lower than 3rd since his first season, and they finished 5th in that year. So the past 6-7 seasons they've won a La Liga. They've finished in 2nd and 3rd past couple of seasons. So that's really the their MO is getting into the Champions League. So I think that's going to be huge to watch them these last couple of matches and see if Simeone can get those guys right after this 3-month layoff and is able to get them back into the Champions League. So I'm going to be looking forward to watch their last 10 or so matches here.
Yeah, I think Atletico Madrid is maybe the most confusing team in Europe this season. Not that they've been objectively bad necessarily, but they've been very frustrating, I think. One of the worst goal-scoring teams in the top half of La Liga, if not the worst goal-scoring team in the top half of La Liga. But if you look at chances created and all that stuff, they're near the top. So it's not that they're not generating these opportunities, it's that they're just not finishing them off for one reason or another. So definitely an interesting team to keep an eye out. If not for the name value in Atletico Madrid, a team that was recently playing in a Champions League final, it's to see what direction the remainder of their season goes. Banks, who are you looking at as your club to watch?
I'm looking at another club that's inside that 4 through 6 range that's fighting for a Champions League place, and that's Real Sociedad. And Real Sociedad's a far cry away from the Antoine Griezmann and Carlos Vela days. They've been fluttering mid-table the last few years. But this is a club that is fascinating to watch because they score goals and they also concede a lot of goals. But what I love about them, what makes them play really well in an exciting brand of football, is how much young talent they have. Before I get into other players, Adnan Januzaj is only 25 years old, and he plays for Real Sociedad. I know all of you forgot about him and where he is, former Manchester United legend, of course. But it's really fascinating. Of course, they drew my eye immediately, and I've been following their progress because I love Nacho Monreal, former Arsenal standout at left back. But they have a lot of attacking talent. When, of course, Martin Odegaard's going to get all the attention, but Mikel Oyarzabal is one of the best young players in the world that no one knows about. Alexander Isak, when he moved to Dortmund a few years ago and he was overhyped, it was him and Christian Pulisic supposed to take over the Bundesliga, and now here he is with 14 goals. They have a lot of young talent. Mikel Merino's there too. They play an exciting brand of football, and they're really in an interesting spot because they're usually fluttering around the mid-table, upper echelon table of La Liga. You can almost liken them to an Everton of sorts, except La Liga is so much more open where they can break into the top 4. And I believe they have gotten 4th and 6th in recent years. But they're a really exciting team to watch. Great kits, too. I'm looking forward to see if they can get into the top 4.
Yeah, Banks, all great points on Real Sociedad. And that's exactly why I went with the exact same team. Real Sociedad, a team that almost feels like kind of a band of misfits, if you want to describe it that. Obviously, Martin Odegaard, somebody who was exiled from Real Madrid when he was 17. Alexander Isak, somebody who had to deal with the same kind of thing at Borussia Dortmund. You mentioned Mikel Oyarzabal, Adnan Januzaj. It's a team of guys who weren't first-team players at their original clubs and now have really made a name for themselves for not a huge club in Spain, but a club that is fighting for a Champions League spot. Also, just strictly on the field, I mean, this team was one of the best squads in Spain before everything shut down. I like to look at these, like the form tables, like form last 6, form last 8, form last 10, whatnot, just to see how well teams are performing relative to other teams in the league over a certain time period. Real Sociedad, 2nd in the last 6 matches form table, 3rd in the last 10 matches form table. So they were getting hot at the right time up until things shut down. That's part of the reason why they're tied for 4th, tied for one of those Champions League spots. Also, like you said, Banks, the highest goal-scoring team in Spain behind Barcelona and Real Madrid. That is not Sevilla. That is not Valencia. That is not Atletico Madrid. It is Real Sociedad. That is something I never would have heard anybody say back in August, that Real Sociedad is the 3rd highest scoring team in La Liga. So definitely an interesting team to watch. If not for the form, how well they've been playing, it's for guys like Martin Odegaard and Alexander Isak, who are going to go on and be big role players for club and country in the future. Player to watch. This is a category that I'm excited for because we have 3 really solid answers. Andrew, I'll let you start.
Yeah, so this one was also interesting because obviously La Liga, you have the stars, you have Lionel Messi, maybe the greatest player of all time. But I went with a guy who we haven't seen much this season, but definitely a name that people know. And definitely a name up there along the world class. It's my guy, Eden Hazard. His first season at Real Madrid has not gone the way he definitely planned, and certainly how Real Madrid had it planned. He's been marred by injury, broke his foot in November, and then he had an ankle injury as well. But now 3 months off, he should be fully rested. Reports coming out this past week since they've been resuming training, he is maybe in the best shape of his life. I guess his quarantine kind of boosted him up to that. And they had a friendly over the weekend. He scored a hat trick. Obviously, it doesn't really matter too much, but to get this guy back in form, he may be the difference between Madrid winning the title or not. I think him coming in here, just his style of play, it suits La Liga so well. And you saw how well he played in the Premier League, maybe the toughest league on the planet, for 6-7 years at the peak of his prime, and now he's coming back into Real Madrid. It's almost like a new signing for them because he hasn't played more than 4 or 5 matches in a row since the beginning of the season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him get back into form. I'm hoping that the reports are true, that he's fully healthy and he's ready to go. And like I said, he could be the difference between Real Madrid and Barcelona winning this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a sentiment that Banks or I didn't pick Eden Hazard, but I think he definitely ranks within our top 3 or top 5 players to watch, just because we haven't seen him for a lengthy period of time at Real Madrid yet. Banks, player to watch. I love your answer. What did you say?
Thank you. I just want to say, as long as Eden Hazard didn't dive into the desserts during this quarantine break, he should be fine, because we know that was.
It's a little big there, my guy.
Yeah, but still a class player. My player to watch, though, this is a question that the Champions League question took me about a good 15 minutes to think about and answer because it was so close. I didn't want to overthink player to watch, and that's why I went with Lionel Messi. Because when you are watching football, there are very few players, if at all, that you sit there and watch and you're just in awe of. This man is a magician. I didn't want to overthink it. He leads La Liga in goals. His vision, his agility, his intelligence, everything about him makes him incredible to watch. There obviously has been some fitness concerns coming into the game against Mallorca to open it up, but as long as Messi is on the pitch, Barcelona will be the best team in La Liga, and he is just an absolute joy to watch that we won't realize what we're missing until he officially hangs up the boots. But Messi is incredible. Don't overthink this question. He is the player to watch because no matter when Barcelona is playing, Messi is always the player to watch.
The reason why I love this answer so much is because, A, like you said, it takes you about 5 seconds to come up with. It's never the wrong answer. I mean, if you translate this question strictly as who is the one player in La Liga that you want to watch, 11 out of 10 fans will tell you Lionel Messi. It reminds me a lot of the LeBron James NBA MVP argument. Maybe not so much anymore, but back in like the early 2010s, he was the technically best and most valuable player every single season, but you still had to give it to somebody different so that he wasn't a 12-time defending MVP. It reminds me a lot of this, like Lionel Messi is every single year the player to watch in La Liga, but you need to switch it up a little bit so people don't get bored. Am I wrong?
No, that's the whole LeBron thing, and that happens too this year. It's voter fatigue, and that's when people are so tired of seeing the same person win and win that they start giving other people accolades who aren't as brilliant, and at the end of their career, like, wait, this guy didn't win as much as we thought he would. But Lionel Messi is just so good. He deserves everything that he is getting, and there's just, and like I said again, like, Lionel Messi is Lionel Messi. Like, when you sit there and watch a game, there are some players that you force upon yourselves, and we all do this. For example, Will, if you're watching Tottenham and Harry Kane does something cool, or even if Harry Kane plays a good 15-yard pass, you're thinking in your head, wow, that guy's so good. And, like, for me, that was whenever Mesut Ozil plays a really good ball, I'm like, this dude is brilliant. And Andrew, whenever Eden Hazard probably cuts on his left foot, you're like, oh, this guy's a genius. That is how everyone feels watching Lionel Messi. Yep. That is really how everyone feels. He is always a player to watch, and I just couldn't overthink it. The Bundesliga player to watch, I went with Robin Kazan because I wanted to see if he could save Mainz from relegation. This one is just so much more straightforward in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't pick Lionel Messi. I guess it's a little bit of voter fatigue on my end, like you said. But definitely, objectively, one player. It depends on how you interpret it. But if you want one player out of anybody in La Liga to watch, the answer is Lionel Messi. The way I think Andrew and I both interpreted this question was, who is somebody who you think these last 10 match weeks will be very, very interesting for? Eden Hazard, obviously a really, really strong answer for the season being cut short in his first year with Real Madrid. The injuries haven't given us a chance to see what he's doing at his full strength. And I went along that exact same path. I didn't go with Eden Hazard, though. I went with João Felix of Atletico Madrid for a couple more reasons than just the Hazard argument. Obviously, João Felix is somebody who has not been healthy consistently through Atletico Madrid after being their record transfer from Benfica over the summer. He's being labeled, I think, very prematurely by a lot of people as a flop for the transfer fee that he was offered, or for the transfer fee that he cost, and for the system that he's currently playing in. But he has can you think of any year ever in football history that is as bad of a hand to be dealt for a young player as this one? I mean, injuries and a season cut short. There weren't many things that could go much worse for João Felix. Obviously, the potential is there. The talent is there. He will get a chance to lead Atletico Madrid into the top four. He will be crucial for this team if Atletico Madrid is going to be playing Champions League football next season. And so that's why I'm keeping a very, very watchful eye on João Felix, kind of for the same reason you picked Robin Quaison for Bundesliga banks. It's because if Mainz were going to escape relegation zone, it was going to be through Quaison. If Atletico Madrid are going to get into the top four and earn a Champions League bid, João Felix is going to need to be their version of Robin Quaison. Obviously, Quaison has not been that for Mainz yet. Hopefully, things are a little bit different for Atletico Madrid. I'm very excited to see what he can do once he gets back onto the pitch. Apparently, he suffered some sort of knee sprain in training, like late May, so he might not be back in time for their first match back. I believe it's against Bilbao, Athletic Bilbao, but he definitely will be back before the end of the season. So definitely a name to watch there. João Felix, Eden Hazard, Lionel Messi. Three very good answers. Yes.
Honorable mention. Lucas Perez of Alaves. Played with Arsenal for a few years. Those of you who don't remember, Arsenal were down 3-0 to Bournemouth with 15 minutes to play a few years ago. Comes off the bench and scores a thumping left-footed volley. Won an FA Cup with Arsenal, so he has more trophies than Harry Kane. Player to watch.
That wasn't necessary, man.
He's tied for third in scoring in La Liga, so his team is really kind of in the abyss in the middle of nowhere. But honorable mention, Lucas Perez. Just wanted to give him a nice little shout out in there.
Thanks. I thought you were going to pick Lucas Perez because he's a player who his team is not doing very well, and he's a top goal scorer in the league, and it's kind of very similar to the Quaison situation.
That's probably who I honestly would have picked if I didn't pick Messi, but I just looked at the situation. There's so many teams in that area. I don't know, unless they lose the first 2 or 3 out of the gate, they're not really a threat to be relegated right now. And it's just, Will, if you're sitting in front of your TV screen, do you want to see what Lucas Perez is doing for 90 minutes, or do you want to see what Lionel Messi is doing for 90 minutes?
I think everybody on earth would want to see what Lionel Messi is doing.
You can say that about
the question.
That's all I'm saying. Player watch. I'm watching the best player in the.
It's a good question, and I agree. I think objectively, I agree with you, and I think everybody else would too. Top scorer. Now this one may be a little bit shorter than our first couple categories. I think I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure it's Messi on 19, then Benzema on 14, and then Perez and somebody else on 11. I don't know who that somebody else is. Luis Suarez. Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
There's a few, I think. Yeah.
So it's 19, 14, 11, 11. Gentlemen, is Benzema, is Lucas Perez, is Luis Suarez passing Lionel Messi for this La Liga Golden Boot race?
Lionel Messi will only lose the La Liga Golden Boot race if his left leg is cut off and his right leg is cut off. That's the only way. Because if he's fit, he's going to contribute because he can do it with his right foot in his head. But I think that if he is out for a period of time, then that opens the door for Karim Benzema. But besides that, it's Messi's to lose.
Yeah, there actually was a report that he picked up a knock on his hamstring a week back, but I think he's going to be totally fine and ready to go. But yeah, this is very similar to the Bundesliga where it was Lewandowski, I think 5 goals up on Werner, and the same thing here with Messi on Benzema. And that's no knock on Werner or Benzema. They can certainly on their day they can bag 2 or 3 and get right back into this race. But I mean, this is Lionel Messi we're talking about here, similar to Robert Lewandowski. All the guy does is score. Actually, Messi does more than score because he also leads the league in assists by a wide margin as well. So this guy does literally everything. Unless he gets hurt, there's no way he's breaking.
Can you imagine? Because we're obviously playing this like everyone's healthy and everyone's fit for the rest of the campaign. Could you imagine betting against Messi to win the golden goal with a 5-goal cushion? Like, that would actually be astronomical and just insane to convince yourself that is going to happen. Just if everyone stays healthy, Lionel Messi will squander a 5-goal cushion to score. I don't even know what his longest scoreless streak is, but I remember it was a big deal last campaign when he didn't score in 3 straight.
I think that streak got to a whopping 5, and everyone was losing their shit.
And Benzema, unless he doesn't do 5 and 5, Messi will be okay.
Of the 3, I mean, it's Benzema, Luis Suarez, Lucas Perez, Gerard Moreno for Villarreal is there. No other Luis Ocampos of Sevilla. I mean, if anybody's going to catch Lionel Messi, and this is strictly hypothetical because there's no way this happens. As you can see, I agree with both of you. Who is most likely, you think, to catch Lionel Messi at the top of the chart? Is it Karim Benzema by virtue of the fact that he's playing for a different team?
Honestly, I think it would be Luis Suarez because my thought is just if Messi's not going to be leading in the Golden Boot, he's probably not on the pitch. So I think Suarez would take most of those opportunities, but it would be Suarez or Benzema.
Yeah, or even if Messi is on the pitch, he's not scoring. He's still an insane passer. Like I said, he leads the league in assists as well. So he can set up Suarez too. But even more interesting than maybe even this top scorer race, maybe this is a question we should have been asking. How many goals is Messi going to finish with? Because last 4 campaigns, he led La Liga 36, 34, 37, and 40. He's only on 19 right now, and I know they have 10 games
Only.
to go. I know. But, I mean, by Messi's standards, that's how ridiculous it is. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to surpass that 30 mark. I mean, they have 10 games left, so he probably should. But if he gets to that 34, 35 range, or even 40 maybe, that would be a pretty amazing feat even for a guy like Messi.
Yeah, difficult to argue. I mean, I guess my reasoning for picking Suarez. Sorry, I'm looking at the golden goal list too, so my mind's in a million different places. I think the only reason for picking Benzema might be if Real Madrid get red hot and Benzema's like at the center of it, then maybe. But I mean, logic would say if Messi's not scoring goals, somebody else is, and the next likely to do that is Luis Suarez. Interesting though, Messi is not leading the golden goal race. It's Lewandowski at the top. It's Ciro Immobile of Lazio, second of Serie A, and they're getting started later in the week. And then I think Messi is third. Actually, my computer got too slow for me to be able to actually scroll. I assume Messi's in third. He might not be. Who knows? Maybe Werner's probably third, right?
Yeah.
That would make more sense because he's on like 25 goals. Regardless, Lionel Messi probably not a UEFA Golden Goal player this season as he has been in the past, but that's not to say that he has really any big competition for top scorer in La Liga this season. Champions League spots, gentlemen. This is where it gets interesting because this is where we really start to disagree on categories that matter. Andrew, you are first. Who are your 3 Champions League entrants behind your league winner, who we will get to later?
Yes, sir. So, I mean, Barcelona, Real Madrid, they're 2 locks already. Everybody knows that. But the 2 other teams, and this is going to be a very interesting race, I think even more than the Bundesliga, because you have squads that aren't used to being in this type of race like Real Sociedad and Getafe, and then you have squads that are certainly, have been here before with Sevilla, Atletico Madrid, Valencia. And I guess you can even add in Villarreal and Granada just because, I mean, they're 8 points off with 10 games to go, so they could have a shot, but that's maybe a little bit of wayward there. My other 2 squads are Atletico Madrid and Sevilla. My reasoning over, Getafe and a team like Valencia, Getafe's on the older side, and I think that might hurt them a little bit with, I think squads are playing a game every, 3-4 days. I think it's going to hurt them a little bit because their squad depth isn't as big and they don't have a ton of youth in there. So I think that some years are on those guys' legs that they may not be able to muster up the will to finish off a solid campaign with 11 games to go in a 6-week span. And then Real Sociedad, I just think it's the youth and not being there before. I know they're having a crazy season, and they're awesome to watch. They're kind of like an Ajax type of thing, a type of squad here in the La Liga, where Ajax was in the Champions League last year. That kind of like Cinderella run, but I don't see it ending in the top 4 spot. I just think that I already made my case for Atletico Madrid, the team to watch. I think Diego Simeone is going to get those guys up for the task. I think they're going to figure out the scoring wise, like Will said, João Felix. He's going to have to come up. But even they have veteran guys like Alvaro Morata and Diego Costa who have been in these type of races before. They're going to have to figure it out, and they'll be able to fire things in the back of the net and figure it out for Atletico Madrid. And Sevilla, I just think, has more quality than Getafe and Valencia as well. So that's what I'm rolling with.
Thanks. What are you thinking here?
So I disagree a little bit, but before we get to that, I wanted to do something for you boys. And what I decided to do is when I was compiling this, I wanted to think of a very quick way to figure out the strength of schedule of these teams, because we all know when you look at a fixture list, especially in a time like this, it doesn't really register. Is that easy? Is it hard? Whatever the case is. So what I decided to do, I lined up the top 6 teams, And I added up the point totals of every club that they're playing against for the rest of the campaign to get an obviously totally foolproof metric to see how difficult the team strength of schedule was. And it's not exactly everything I used, but it was interesting to show that, for example, we'll get to this a little bit later just to prove, Barcelona, if you add up all the points of the teams that they played, they're playing 356 total points, and Real Madrid is playing 374 total points. So that's just showing that Barcelona is playing 18 points worse in the rest of the campaign, which just shows that their schedule is relatively easier. You can't read much more into it when they're all close like that. But it was just something I wanted to lay out to see if teams were playing an easy or a hard schedule. So I went with Barcelona and Real Madrid. That's obvious. Third, I went with Sevilla, and I think Sevilla is going to get constantly overlooked in this discussion. But they're a quality side. They have so many guys that can put the ball in the back of the net, and they're so well oiled, and they really don't have that tough of a campaign compared to their other counterparts in this. And the fourth spot, I went with Getafe instead of Atletico Madrid, and it was interesting, but I went with that because, for one, I have a really weird feeling that Atletico Madrid just isn't as good as they are in recent years. That's just a gut feeling that I went with. But when I look at it, Atletico Madrid, I'm not convinced that they're going to have the goal-scoring acumen to be able to score 2 or 3 goals on teams just the way they've been playing this season, because everyone's going to think about, oh, look what they did against Liverpool. They thrived off of good defending and set pieces, which is a recipe for winning, but I don't know if it can get it done. And Getafe and Atletico Madrid, through my very simple metric that obviously weighs home and away games and things of that nature and all of the other things, shows that Getafe is playing a 1 point easier schedule, so it's basically a toss-up. These two teams play against each other the second to last match week of the campaign, so that's going to be huge. And I really wanted to go with Real Sociedad, but their last 4 games, Granada, Villarreal, Sevilla, Atletico Madrid, that's 4 really hard opponents. So I don't know if they'll be able to get it done because they have such a gauntlet at the end. But everyone's really close. Sevilla can't be overlooked, but they also are only a point to the good. But I got Getafe over Atletico Madrid. I just think that they're an experienced side, and they remind me of Mönchengladbach, where they just have so many good players. You can't pinpoint one player that's really good, but you'll see how well they work as a team.
Yeah, for the sake of redundancy, I won't give out the 6 teams that are being considered. You guys have already done that. But I guess the way that I planned myself through this, Barcelona and Real Madrid, we can throw them to the wind. We all know what's happening there. One of them wins, one of them finishes second. Nobody is particularly close to catch up to either one of them, regardless of who wins the table. But third was interesting. Banks, you said that you think Sevilla is going to be constantly overlooked in this discussion, but I think it's interesting that all 3 of us have Sevilla in a Champions League spot. I mean, this is a team that is, like you said, is consistently overlooked, obviously, by Barcelona and Real Madrid, maybe justifiably, but Sevilla is not a sexy team. Sevilla is a lot like Borussia Mönchengladbach in Bundesliga, a team that just kind of goes about their business and gets it done. People are attracted to Sociedad for Odegaard and Ishak and those players. People are attracted to Getafe because they're one of the best defenses in La Liga and are somehow in the Europa League round of 16, despite nobody really having heard of them before this season, at least the casual fans. People are attracted to Atletico Madrid because it's Atletico Madrid. It's Diego Simeone. It's one of the best teams in Spain. But Sevilla, quietly, like you said, it is going to seal lock up a top 4 spot. I don't think that's much of a conversation. Their recent form suggests the same. Now, the 4th spot was interesting because then it came down to Sociedad, Atletico Madrid, and Getafe. Atletico Madrid, Banks, I agree with you about Atleti. It comes to a point where we want to think that they're better than they are. They've shown historically that they're better than what they've been this season, but it comes to a point where we have to say, listen, it's been 28, 29 matches. We haven't seen it yet. We've been saying that about them since November. I mean, when is it going to start, if ever? You know, it comes to a point where it's kind of like Spurs, Arsenal, Manchester United from this season. It's like, okay, we know that you're better than this, but you haven't shown us that yet. So why should we believe you and put you ahead of more deserving teams as of right now than Getafe, Sociedad, and Sevilla? So I threw them away. Came down to Sociedad and Getafe, and honestly, this was a coin flip. I had no idea who I wanted to go with. I ended up, Andrew, I found it interesting that you brought up the age point about Getafe, because that was one of my scale tippers. I do think that with a more condensed schedule, Getafe is going to be a little bit more beat up. Sociedad, you mentioned the inexperience. I think their youth will help them because they'll be able to play 2-3 matches over a 10-day window. So I went with Real Sociedad in that 4th spot. Also, not to be overlooked, I really, for the love of God, want to see Martin Odegaard staying at Real Sociedad next season. I'm going to have an article coming out about it in the coming days. If it's not out already, go check it out, stoppagetime.qu.weebly.com. And I think the only way he stays at Real Sociedad next season is if Sociedad are playing in Champions League competition and if Odegaard can play against those top-tier teams without having to go back to Madrid. So I went with Real Sociedad in that 4th spot. In the end, though, this is going to be a very, very interesting Champions League race. Maybe more interesting than the one that we're seeing between Leverkusen and Mönchengladbach.
And you know what I love, too, about this is that besides the fact that there's no El Clasico left on the fixture list, every team in contention is playing against each other one more time, which is awesome because it's like that Leverkusen-Gladbach game when they're 6-pointers. And it's just great because those games you're going to see a little more intensity because obviously that's been lacking without the crowd noise. But teams are really going to get up for these games because they know what's at stake and the fans know what's at stake. And Getafe plays Sociedad right in the middle of the restart. And then you see Atletico plays Getafe and then Sociedad is their final 2 games of the campaign. So they just got to keep pace and then take 6 points at the end. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But it's really awesome that teams essentially have to prove their worth by playing against direct competitors.
Yeah, I think I even had that. I had that in my written down. I didn't mention it, but Getafe and Sociedad, the 2 teams that I think will be fighting for that 4th spot, play each other on June 29th. So a game that I will definitely be tuning into. I hope you guys will as well. One thing that I want to mention to you, Banks, about Sociedad, that you kind of you use their last 4 matches as a reason to pick against them because it would be difficult to seal a top 4 position if they have to go through that gauntlet. 3 of their first 4 matches: Osasuna, Deportivo Alavés, and Celta Vigo. So truthfully, if they can take 9 points out of those,
what's the other one?
Well, okay, the other one is Real Madrid, but listen. It's Real Madrid. And then the 5th one is Getafe.
That's a good point. They could be off to a flying start. Good point.
Exactly. So if they can take 9 out of 12 points, we'll assume a loss in that Madrid game, except Sociedad did beat Madrid in Copa del Rey this season. So it is not in a predetermined result. That very well could be points for Sociedad. But if they can win those 3 games against Osasuna, Deportivo, and Celta Vigo, and then beat Getafe in that head-to-head 6-pointer, it might be locked up for them by the time they get to that 4-match gauntlet. So definitely an interesting schedule for Sociedad. You can look at it one way, you can look at it another way. Some might see it as really bad because of that back half. Some might see it as good because of the first few matches. Definitely a team to watch, as Banks and I both pointed out, for this season. All right, our winners. You know what? I got to get better with these graphics because I put in.
You telegraphed it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I'll do better for Serie A and Premier League because we can't be just giving away the winners. It's not much of a secret at this point. But Andrew, why don't you go ahead and make your case for your secret surprise winner who nobody knows yet?
Yes, sir. Well, also with the touch on the Premier League, I don't think you have to worry about giving away the winner for the.
League. But, Andrew, tell us why you have Real Sociedad winning the La Liga.
Oh, yeah, well, I did joke around with these guys before the show that I was going to pick Real Sociedad because, as many of you may know, we've touched on it a little bit on the show. Bayer Leverkusen liked one of our early tweets, so we tagged ourselves as a Bayer Leverkusen show / podcast, whatever you want to call it. So with Will's love of Martin Odegaard and this young squad of Real Sociedad, we kind of joked that I was going to pick them to kind of call ourselves a Real Sociedad radio show as well, but I guess we have to will inform me that we have to wait until the team actually likes one of our tweets.
That's the rule.
Plug ourselves as that. So we'll wait on it. Real Sociedad, if anybody's watching this, make sure you get it.
We don't just hand out our fandom.
Yeah, facts. You gotta plug the brand a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Maybe we get a London's finest billboard in Real Sociedad's arena. Like,
dude, that'd be tough.
Maybe
it can be like one of those things that they go like by the goal line that look like they're propped up, but they're not actually.
Yeah, they're just laying down.
Yeah, and then players step on it, and I'm like, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah,
that used to trick me so bad when I was like 8. I was like, that's a sign. How are they stepping over it?
It sometimes still does trick me. But yeah, let's get off this tangent a little bit here. All right. Well, when I came down to this decision, this took me a little while. I watched a couple of videos on YouTube of other guys doing similar things to what we're doing, where they're previewing this restart here. I listened to a lot of key points, and what I came out with it was 2 big things that I'm looking at between Real Madrid and Barcelona. It's defense and it's squad depth. And I think Real Madrid trumps Barcelona in both those areas. Defending wise, best defensive record in the league right now, just 19 goals given up. They're Thibaut Courtois has his change from last season to this season has been insane, and obviously it's not only on him. Their defense, their back line, whoever it may be, has done a very solid job. But Thibaut Courtois' transition, his season last year, his first year at Real Madrid was horrendous. He was splitting time with Keylor Navas, couldn't get a hold of that one spot. He's done that this year, and he's back into that form of being one of the better goalkeepers on the planet. So I'm happy for him doing that. And then squad depth-wise, you compare Barcelona and Real Madrid squad depth, and I'm talking like deep guys, not guys who get off the bench, 20 times a game. I'm talking deeper type things. I think that's what you're going to need here when we mentioned it with Getafe. Teams are going to be playing 3 games in the span of 10 days, so they're going to need that squad depth here. You compare these two squads. Barcelona, if you go deep in there, they have really nobody that really stands out. Ricky Puig, maybe, who's just a youngster who doesn't really have a lot of stuff. You have Martin Braithwaite, who they made that emergency signing with him when Luis Suarez went down. He's not really tabbed as a La Liga type guy. And then you go to a squad like Real Madrid, who has guys with experience. James Rodriguez, you can talk about. He hasn't done anything this season, but he's obviously a guy who's been there before. Nacho Fernandez, another one of those back 4 guys that could really help them out. And Mariano Diaz, another youngster like that. So that's what I really looked at. And it's unfortunate that we're not going to be able to get El Clasico down the stretch here. They've already played both matchups, and Real Madrid has their number. One of them was a scoreless draw, and Real Madrid won the other one 2-0. And schedule-wise, I think they compare pretty much hand in hand. You can't really point out one or the other, although Banks did add up those points and got 18 points?
It was an 18-point difference.
Yeah, so I take that with a grain of salt. I know you did research there, Banks, and I appreciate that. But I just think, looking at it from the paper trail, they look pretty similar. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm back in Madrid here. I think Zidane's going to work his magic a little bit, and I think he's going to pull this one out for the boys.
Thanks. Tell Andrew why you disagree.
Tell Andrew why he's wrong.
I want to say the way that you could combat this, and I chose Barcelona to win the league. And squad depth is a valid concern to go in the other direction. But for me, it came down to this. Real Madrid, essentially what they need is Barcelona to slip up once, and then they need to be perfect. And obviously, teams can lose 2 or 3 times, and then that can pave the way for something else. But I looked at it. Barcelona plays Sevilla. They play Atletico Madrid. Besides that, the only way they lose the league is for them to have to beat themselves. And I just don't see that happening. And just Real Madrid plays a lot of teams that have high-octane offenses. So I'm looking at it as it's a twist between 2 evils. It's similar to why I went with Gladbach for the 4th Champions League spot in the Bundesliga, because they had a few points up on Leverkusen. And I see it as the same type of thing here. Yes, Real Madrid is much better defensively than Barcelona, but Barcelona also has scored, 15 or 14 more goals than them this campaign. When you have Lionel Messi, who we're presuming to be healthy, I don't think that there's going to be a time when they drop 2 points, especially with what they have around them. And I think they have enough depth. Ansu Fati can come in on the wing. Sergio Roberto. You have Rakitic and Vidal. They both don't start every game. You have enough to get by and enough talent and experience. So I think Barcelona gets it, plus the 18-point gap is definitely vital.
Yeah, one thing that we've really witnessed with Bundesliga restarting is that we all thought that form could be thrown out the window. I mean, we all thought that a team's form could be disregarded as meaningless because it's been 2 months, we're restarting. We've learned very quickly that is not the case, that form is picking up right where it left off. And I think it's important that Real Madrid's form in La Liga before things shut down, last 4 matches, 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. I mean, that's not to say that will continue, but if that form is even to linger, I mean, they're already 2 points back, and 1 loss could really make this Barcelona's league to lose. It's going to be difficult to see if Bundesliga trends carry over to La Liga. It's going to be difficult to see Real Madrid go from piss poor to perfect without any sort of buffer window. And in that time, Barcelona, you have to assume, I mean, who are Barcelona's first few matches against? I should know this. I don't.
Mallorca, Sevilla, Bilbao are their first 4.
I will tease something to you, gentlemen. Barcelona will take at least 10 points out of that group of 4. I mean, they will take 3 against Mallorca. They will take 3 against Leganes. And if Real Madrid slip up anywhere in that first 2 weeks, then they are in a lot of trouble. I think we're giving a lot of credit to the squad depth, and we should, because these teams are going to be playing consistently twice a week. But I haven't heard anybody mention how important it is that the starting 11s themselves. I mean, yes, the squad depth will be crucial, but nobody has mentioned how much better overall Barcelona's 11 is compared to Real Madrid's. Not to say Madrid's is objectively bad, but it's younger, it's less experienced, and they don't have somebody named Lionel Messi, which I think is extremely, extremely important. Thibaut Courtois has been excellent. He's been very, very good for Real Madrid. He has been what they bought him for from Chelsea 2 years ago, but you can't mention Thibaut Courtois without mentioning in the same sentence how good Marc-Andre ter Stegen has been for Barcelona. He has without a doubt been the second or third best goalie in Bundesliga. Behind, you can maybe make an argument for Jan Oblak. I believe when we did a couple months ago, when we did our fantasy draft, I think ter Stegen, Oblak, and I think it was Alisson were the 3 goalies selected. So certainly ter Stegen is somebody that deserves consideration in the same tier, I would say, as Thibaut Courtois, somebody who has been excellent for Barcelona. Germany's number 1, I think, at this point. And so I haven't even revealed it yet. I went Barcelona as well. But this will be a very interesting title race. This will be a real title race as opposed to what we had with Bayern and Dortmund in Bundesliga, and it's going to be very, very interesting to watch, because I hope that form does not necessarily carry in La Liga like it did in Bundesliga, because if it doesn't carry, then we're going to get a straight sprint between Barcelona and Real Madrid to the finish line, and it's going to, if one of the two teams slips up, then this thing could be good as over, especially if it's Real Madrid, the one dropping points, because Barcelona, like you mentioned, Banks, already has that lead. You can tie it into, if you want to, Mönchengladbach and Leverkusen. Mönchengladbach had that 2-point lead over Leverkusen in Bundesliga when we started. And as good as Leverkusen has been, they have had one or two too many slip-ups, most notably against Wolfsburg, and they're still behind. I mean, Leverkusen have had to be nearly perfect to hop Mönchengladbach, and they haven't been, and that's why they're not ahead of Mönchengladbach right now. We can use the same logic here with Barcelona and Real Madrid. But regardless of what happens, it will definitely be an interesting title race. Any rooting interests, just out of curiosity for you boys, or are you just going to be watching from a bird's eye view?
I think I'm just going bird's eye view. No Schalke, diehardness. I very quote unquote diehardness here. But I'm just looking forward to hopefully this title race goes a little bit longer, like you said, than the Bundesliga one. And I think it will. I think Real Madrid's going to be up for the cause.
Yeah, I just want to see a sprint to the finish. I want to see every match matter between the top 2, the top 3 to 7, and in the relegation battle, because that's what you get up for. But I'm a Messi guy through and through. I think he's phenomenal, and I want to see him continue to do well.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it this show for good reason. What we've been talking about has been the most important storylines maybe, but the relegation battle, as it always is in Spain, is extremely interesting. It's Espanyol, Leganes, and Mallorca who are right now in the drop zone, but Celta Vigo only a point away, Eibar only 2 points away, which actually surprises me, because I'm pretty sure Eibar was mid-table at some point this season, and then Valladolid is 29 points. They're 4 points off Mallorca. So that's what does Banks. That's what does Banks in. Yes. Banks loves the relegation battle, maybe even more so than the battle for top 4. So, what did you say?
It's a Catalan sandwich in La Liga, because Barcelona and Espanyol are 2 Catalan clubs from Catalonia, 1st and 20th. So everyone in the middle is just fighting for relevance.
It's a little geography shout out there by Jonathan Banks.
Sure.
Banks our geography guy.
Shout out 5th grade Spanish.
Banks knew that what were the leagues? Tajikistan. He knew that Tajikistan was in Eastern Europe or Western Asia.
Yes. Yeah.
But he later tipped that it was because he was looking at Google.
Did I? I think so. I will say that a little of geography chops. I think I've said this before. One of my brothers knows every country and capital and every flag of said country. So growing up, I was more into the soccer. He was more into what's the capital of that country and how many clubs play in that country. So I kind of picked up a little bit from him. So that's why. And I'm saying being a soccer fan in general and a football fan definitely gets you more well-versed in what's happening around the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. At the very least, being a FIFA player allows you to know what flags are what.
Yes.
Especially random ones. Gabon, Bosnia.
The nationalities when you're growing up playing manager mode, huge.
Yes, true.
That reminds me of, I think it was a TikTok I saw a couple weeks ago, and it was like professor gives you a like flags quiz and everybody's like sweating and stuff like this, and then the kid who plays FIFA walks in and he's like, I got this shit, bro.
Yep.
That's definitely me back in the day.
That came across my For You page a couple months ago, and I could not double tap that video quicker. I was like, this is the most true video I've ever seen on this app. And to this day, it is still the most true video I've ever seen on that app.
Shout out EA. It really is in the game.
It really is. It really is in the game. The only problem is that video, listen, I surf that app like 2 hours a day minimum.
Even at least?
Even flat. No, like I have a timer. 2 hours, all right, I'm done. But that TikTok is like at the bottom of my liked videos, and I have a ton of liked videos now. So like I could so easily just scroll down and unlike it, like it again, so it appears at the top. That's too much work. I don't like that. But definitely, Banks, are you on TikTok? I forget.
I am not on TikTok. So my theory with this,
with the trend.
Oh boy.
One, I didn't want to get sucked in, but two, my theory, which is the correct theory, if the TikTok is that good, I will see it on Twitter or Instagram. That is how I look at the situation. And I just didn't want to get sucked in and be that guy and have a TikTok because one, I didn't have any videos to make, but I do enjoy watching TikToks. I will say some of them are stupid, but some of them are entertaining.
Yeah, you get the real deep, like, you know, good humor ones where it's like only like 50, 100K likes. We don't need those million. We don't need like Charlie D'Amelio coming out here and start dancing and stuff like that. Actually, I saw a funny soccer one today. I'll send it to you boys after the show.
Please do. I don't mean to call you right or wrong, Banks, but all I will say is that there are a lot of really funny TikToks that I've seen on the app that I've never seen on Twitter or Instagram. So you might be missing out on a couple.
It's also fair. I'll give you that.
We'll see. That said, though, every time I find a funny one, you guys know I put it in the group chat. So I will never let you miss out, Banks, on what I see.
Much appreciated.
All right. That is going to do it for our show today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not yet following us on Twitter, please do, at London's Finest QU. We're active all 7 days of the week. Things are going to be getting a lot busier now with these other leagues coming back. We're going to have a lot more content to feed out. Hopefully a lot more articles, too, to put out. Make sure to check out our blog, stoppageTimeQU.weebly.com. That is a relatively new platform that we have that we're working on with all the written content that we can't really talk about on the show because they're maybe more dated or more broad topics. But regardless, go check it out there. That's in the bio of our Twitter if you don't feel like typing that in to a Google Chrome bar. We do these shows every single weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, where we hop on a Zoom call. Usually we'll talk about the biggest transfer stories and news headlines and whatnot. This week is going to be a little bit different because we've got these league previews coming up. We might try to spread them out a little bit. We might just do them straight shot. We'll talk about that, and you'll know by this time tomorrow because you'll have already watched the episode. I believe that will do it. Our next preview will be Serie A, whether that's tomorrow or Wednesday. We do not know yet, but keep an eye out for that because it's going to be a lot of fun. Another really good, really interesting title race there, a three-way title race between Juventus, Lazio, and Inter Milan. So maybe a three-way disagreement for that last category right there is in the works. So be sure to check that out. For Andrew Myers and Jonathan Banks, my name is Will Fowler. Have a great Monday, everybody.